without further ado, let's jump into the first question from our Discord community. You can get all this exclusive information from Elaine on our Discord channel, so join our community. What was your favorite toy as a child, Elaine?
I love that question. I had living toys. I had my animals. I was like a pet geek. I used to go a lot to my grandmother's home, and there I had dogs and rabbits and cats and chicken and little monkeys and speaking birds and nature birds, and it was such a blast to be with that. So I don't think I could remember a toy. I was not much of a doll girl, because I had all these living beings around me. And other funny fact, I was a beekeeper by age 12. I had all my gear. I could, take the honey out of the hives. Was awesome, but that's for another chapter. But just to say
that's
that
for this chapter. I mean, when we get the sustainable farm going as a collective, you're going to be our beekeeper. I love that. Oh,
that's usually my funny fact that when people ask, what something that people will never know about, is like, I was a beekeeper once. But yes, I had this friendships from my little animals, and I could not speak their language, but they could understand me, and we could understand each other, and we had amazing adventures together, and it was such a blessing to have all of those.
Elaine, you remind me of my daughter Hannah, because she loves animals, and we have chickens, we have a bunny, we had bees for several years. So same thing, she had her little child size like suit and everything. And she just, she's not much of a toy, never has been much of a toy gal. It's always been, she just went outside and just played with the animals. So
which leads us into the next question, Beth. I'm wondering if there's similarities in the next question between your daughter and Elaine, but let's find out. Let's
might be
it. Yeah.
So our second question from our Discord community is, what is your star sign, your astrological star sign?
My star sign is Virgo. I just had my birthday in August, August 30th. Thank you. I turned 49, so I'm starting my next 7 years, phase. So very, very happy. But it's funny because it's a lot of natural ideas of what a Virgo person is. And I'm surrounded by Virgos as well. My stepdaughter is a Virgo. My dad is a Virgo. My ex-husband is a Virgo. I had tons of friends who are Virgos. And it's just fun to be around a Virgo, because we have our ways. I
was going to say, do you guys all fight each other to analyze the situation?
Pretty much, and color code things, and
details,
right? Detail oriented,
and detail, and let's sort this out, and let's see how we're gonna, fighting for who's gonna do the dishes, because there's always a better way to do the dishes.
Oh my gosh!
But yes, we do. So yeah, that's a funny way of being. So I understand the Virgos, and you understand each other, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think you guys respect that detail, and you respect the I think loyalty to paying attention, right? Because I always notice, my godmother's a Virgo too, and man, she loves it when I do some kind of little detail, or like pay attention to, like, this goes in this special place, and she's like, you pay attention, that's so nice,
But and Virgos, they are perfecting the world. I mean, you see the little nooks and crannies that could use improvement, and then you figure out ways to make that better. So that's a great quality.
Thank you for noticing.
And of course, we always say, like, this is funny question from the Discord community, because it's just a funny topic. It doesn't have any control over us, but it's a fun way, just like those personality tests like Myers-Briggs, to figure out what kind of energy are we dealing with today. So now we know Virgo, the pure energy too, the virgin. I love this. It's such a good sign. So loving. Coming up to your next question, which I think leads into it from your sign, is, what is your superpower, Elaine?
My superpower, usually this is what I hear from people, but because the idea, as Beth is saying, about paying attention, I respond to things very fast. I have 0 emails in my inbox. I respond to every text, and I do that in a timely manner. I think everyone deserves attention. Doesn't matter. And I only commit to, of course, groups and and things that I would like to do. And because of that, there is never a message. People can rely on me. Like if something is urgent, like what is the answer to this? I mean, I'm paying attention to the messages, and I'm super fast in coming back. This comes back way back, not only as a child, but also as a young professional. I was always the quick one to respond, or the fast one to do things. So I think that's appreciated by a lot of people because they can rely on you on that to be expedite.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's my superpower.
And I think that's interesting because it's a really, I've never heard it framed that way before, but it's a really unique way to show that you care about people. You know, you respect every individual's worthy of your attention and your care. And that's a really neat way to show it. So, yeah.
With technology, with technology that, you know, people text and people call and people send a message. And when I receive something, people usually know that it won't be, you know, langing and needing to follow up or anything. There'll be an answer. So.
Mm-hmm. They don't have to remind you. Yeah,
that
really is
a superpower because, you know, in this world where everything is so immediate and fast paced too, it's hard to find people that are reliable because, you know, everybody can just say, oh yeah, like I didn't have time or I was too busy, or, you know, it's really nice to have someone you can rely on these days. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. So our last question, and I'm excited to hear this answer. What is your hobby or creative outlet? What's something that you do to blow off steam or to re-energize yourself?
When you're not busy, like, you know,
when you're
forging $300 million SDG fund,
changing the world,
and changing the world, you know, in your spare time, this elusive spare time.
It's also an interesting thing. I love the questions because it makes you reflect. I usually tell people that I don't have a hobby, that I don't do anything. I'm not a sports geek, or I'm not craving to read every book that I have on piled up. But I noticed there are places, or I do things that brings me a little joy. And one of them is cross stitching. So doing the little things, you know, when you count the colors and you're like, you need the attention in your eye. And this is where in all the games that I play on my phone, they're also similar. I do the Tetris and I do the vessel coloring thing. I know that I have a pattern of that's how my energy goes on organizing things and trying to do that. And it's not that I do that every day and I don't feel that they need, but I always have a little project here and there where I'm cross stitching and I do find the drawing that I want to do. I remember the person that I would like to give that as a gift. I'm working on a little project right now. I've been to a friend. Now that life is back and we're not on lockdown anymore. I went to a friend's house. And she has 2 cats, a wonderful dog, and I'm doing a dish towel with the pictures of, not a picture, I mean, I'm drawing the cats and the dog and their names, and I'm going to do like little paws on it. So hopefully by the time she listens to the podcast, she knows that I'm working on this.
No spoiler alert.
Exactly.
Spoiler alert of gifts.
And that's a really detail-oriented hobby too. I mean, that takes a lot of.
I just learned about this too. Have you ever played Luminosity before?
No,
Beth?
not that, but I'm gonna.
All the time.
You did. Okay.
Beth and I were into this for a while.
You might
really
like
fun.
it.
They're like brain games. You might like them. But what I learned recently is like games like Tetris or Candy Crush or anything, that they actually give the brain a sense of accomplishment. So, you know, like short-term accomplishment goals. So I think this is also really funny because some people are into like player games, and that's a whole different thing, setting up worlds. But I learned the other day in this conversation about how the brain works and why those games are actually good for us. So good on you. Sense of accomplishment.
Exactly. That's how I feel. That's my hobby.
I just wanted to drop a really, you know, we said your intro and we know you're from Brazil, but when did you come to the States? Like, what was your journey getting over to the States? And, you know, culturally, like, why were you drawn to the States? Is that a love story? Is it a work story? Is it a both story?
So I lived in the United States twice. So the first time was a little bit by accident, work story. I was working for Goldman Sachs, living in Brazil, and I came to New York headquarters to do some learnings and testing, you know, for things that I had to be to have on my file. And I ended up being here for 2 years. So it was early 2000s. The towers collapsed in the middle of my time in New York. I continued to be in New York. So that was a little crazy. But I came back to Brazil, and then I left again, but that's more of a life journey. I got divorced in 2015. I decided to leave the country and try to change the world at scale. So I planned a little bit ahead and to live either in New York or in Europe, trying to work for a big organization like I am working right now. And then I've been living in the United States since. So I started because life brought me here, and it's starting to build my blocks on work and love again and my family. So it was not a one reason, it was for me, and that's where I live.
I love it. And
Wonderful.
you're so blessed, to think about New Year's Day and this new beginnings and stuff. It's always good to reflect on what we have, like, and so
Exactly.
I hear you have a lot and you move towards a lot. And I don't think location should hinder any of us from getting what we want, the relationships we want, or the fulfillment from work that we want. It's just get up and go. If you gotta go, you gotta do it. And you're a perfect example of that.